All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our seventh Tech Connect Thursday powered by WEtech Alliance in partnership with Invest WindsorEssex, FedDev Ontario, Clair College, the University of Windsor, and Workforce WindsorEssex. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Adam Castle from WEtech Alliance, and I serve as the Director of Venture Services. Now, I've worked in economic development for the past 10 years. I'm a former entrepreneur myself and serve as the business advisor to scaling companies in the WEtech portfolio. I also have the pleasure of overseeing the design and delivery of the advisory services we provide to our community. And I couldn't be more excited to welcome Ever.AG here today to the virtual stage to talk working in Windsor-Essex's tech sector. Now, Ever.AG, who's empowering supply chains to feed a growing world, offers innovative and AgTech solutions and services that empower agriculture, food, and beverage supply chains to feed a growing world. So what is Tech Connect Thursday? Well, Tech Connect Thursday is an opportunity for those curious about working in tech and those working in tech to make connections to learn about exciting career opportunities and industry sector highlights, trends, and initiatives happening within our region and beyond. Our goal is for you to meet some of the fastest growing tech and innovation companies here in Windsor-Essex County and Chatham-Kent, and people and the organizations leading the way across the entire tech industry. Ultimately, we hope Tech Connect Thursdays helps plug you into the Windsor-Essex and beyond tech scene. To be considerate and accommodate everyone attending today from across the region, we're doing things a little bit differently this meetup by leveraging Zoom webinar. You might not be able to see all the attendees, but you will have ample opportunity to engage with our guests during the Q&A session. All right, so some logistics before we get started. If you want to join the discussion, please feel free to use the chat feature located at the bottom of the video window to engage with session attendees. Have a question for our guests, you may submit questions at any time throughout the session using the Q&A box located in the bottom of your display window. You can also upvote those questions you want answered. And should you experience any technical difficulty, please send a message in the chat box. We have Emily Roback here on the back end, sitting by waiting for you. Finally, this presentation will be recorded, so a video file, audio file, and all the relevant links that'll be available on WEtech Alliance's YouTube channel and included in the attendee follow-up email. And now I'm so pleased to introduce our guests from Ever.AG today, Courteaux and Eros Nikolli. Welcome, gents. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, so to start us off, do you mind telling our audience a little bit about who you are and how you both came to work at Ever.AG?
Sure. My name's Courteaux. I'm the business unit leader at Ever.AG's CMS platform, which is formerly known as ProSoft XP, located here in Windsor. I started working with Ever.AG since we got kind of acquired by them or teamed up with them about 2 years ago. So been here ever since.
Fantastic.
And I started with ProSoft back 8 years ago. Actually, today is my 8-year anniversary that I've been with ProSoft.
Congratulations! That's a big milestone.
Thank you, and have moved over to the Ever.AG team. And currently am one of the directors of technology for Ever.AG for our business unit that is led by Eric.
Very cool. Well, I can't wait to dive in with you today. And I know Ever.AG is headquartered, mainly in Texas, but you've got locations in Dublin, Ireland, Madison, Elkhorn, Wisconsin, and now we're seeing this flurry of hiring here in Windsor-Essex. Can you tell us a little bit more about Ever.AG joining us here in the Great White North? What do your operations look like today in Windsor?
Yeah, well, we have the only operation in Canada with Ever.AG so far. Like you said, there's a few other locations across the U.S. and in India and in Ireland, and I don't think we're stopping growth. I think they're looking for opportunities anywhere around the world or in Canada additionally as well. So in terms of how we got here and what we offer, I think is a great platform for good tech caliber or high caliber students and skill sets that we have the border right here with the U.S. and we have a good location for that type of for bringing in talent across the border or within Canada itself.
Absolutely. We're so glad that you're here sort of expanding in the region and that you're able to take some time to connect with us today. I think it's going to be a great conversation. To help set the stage, what I wanted to do first is sort of talk about agriculture in Windsor and Essex County, just as a whole, because I think it's really important to note that this is a huge cluster that we have here. In terms of how significant it is in terms of agricultural output and activity, we've got over 4,500 acres under glass here, the highest concentration of greenhouses anywhere in the world outside of Holland, only sort of dwarfed by sort of the Netherlands. 80% of Ontario's greenhouse acreage is right here in our backyard, with over 70% of being what's produced here going over the border into the US. We really are growing for the world here in Windsor and Essex County. And all of that food obviously needs to go from farm to table somehow. And that's really where Ever.AG comes in, isn't it? It ensures that the supply chain is strong and it's being managed sort of efficiently and affordably. Would you both mind sharing a bit of a deeper dive into how Ever.AG makes that happen through your software platforms?
So our software actually right now wouldn't primarily solve the problems that greenhouses would solve, but it does solve problems for all the farmers, or at least those who buy off of farm and process any commodities in that sense. So grain elevators or feed mills, anyone who's buying commodities, processing and trading commodities. And there's a big swath of that in southwestern Ontario in general, not necessarily in Windsor or Essex County, but in southwestern Ontario, there's a large contingent of those types of clientele that we service.
Yeah, for sure. I know we've got some of the largest sort of feed mills here in Ontario, just down the road on 401 as well. And boy, do they ever deal with huge volumes of stuff, right? They're always constantly moving materials around to different farms and where it needs to go. I'm curious, what sort of sets you apart from others in this space in the industry?
Well, there's not a lot of players in the industry, and we've had a solution now. It's an ERP solution, enterprise resource planning, for 20 plus years. It's a Windows-based application. It's it's very robust and strong. And what sets us apart now, I guess, would be that we're investing heavily in newer technologies and in the web. And we're looking at some stuff like automation and potentially some AI components that could really help capture day-to-day data entry issues that our customers or users might make. So I think that's what would differentiate us going forward, is the investment in new technologies and in new solutions.
Very cool. And I know that sort of has something to do with their presence in Windsor and sort of the hiring that's been going on. For folks that are looking at maybe, they're sitting on an application waiting to send it in to you, can you define your company in about 3 words for us?
Oh, I can define the company culture in a few words. I could say that it's exciting. It's very growth oriented and flexible.
Very cool. And so, I imagine those are some of the skills that you're really looking for too, when you look to people that are joining your team. What other types of talents are you currently looking for to join in?
Oh, well, right now we're looking for programmers, anyone, developers, web-based developers, even desktop application developers, or UI, UX developers, or design artists. We're really trying to push for a couple of new pieces that could help, make the screens look nice and user-friendly.
Very cool. Now, are you looking for folks with a focus in on AgTech, or they've had previous experience in that space, or are you willing to sort of chat with anyone?
Yeah, we're willing to chat with anyone. I mean, there's not, I wouldn't say that students come out of the universities or the colleges in this area with much of an agricultural background, generally speaking. It's not easy to find that type of talent in this, I guess, immediate area.
Yeah.
But in terms of, computer programmers and whatnot. So no, we don't require an ag tech background. You can kind of learn the industry as you go along, and yeah.
Awesome. Well, actually, I just came from the Computer Science Hub, their open sort of demo day today, and I was so pleasantly surprised with how many actual companies or how many actual projects were based on an agricultural technology. And so I was talking to one of the profs there, and they've actually started partnerships with some of the bigger farms in Essex County to really connect the students with sort of first customers, essentially. And so everything they built was based around those actual needs. So it'll be cool to see sort of who comes out of the woodwork for you, and whether or not those folks have some of that background that you're looking for.
Yeah.
You know, I'm curious what is that interview process to start a career at Ever.AG?
It's a 3-stage process, basically. Right now, we have, so if we see some resumes that we like, we'll basically advise our HR department, and they will have that candidate complete a competency test. Essentially, it's a series of competency-related questions, and if they pass that, they would move to stage 2, which would be a higher level interview with the HR department, and just to get to know the person better, get a feel for them. And then if that all goes well, then they would meet with the hiring managers, such as Eros or myself or Dennis, another manager within our organization. And yeah, and then we would have those more low-level discussions and talk more about their skill set and what they have.
Very cool. So Eros, maybe a question for you. How does someone stand out from the crowd when they're applying for Ever.AG? What does that look like to you?
Well, the number one thing that we're looking at from the tech side is problem solving, right? And we can't always expect that the developers that we're hiring will know every single technology that we're working with, and we find that a lot due to the technologies that we implement in-house. So problem solving is one of the biggest attributes that we look for. Being open to learning, that's also a big a key factor, to be able to learn our technologies, learn the industry as you're writing these applications, and just keeping up to date with the latest technologies, offering more to our current tech stack and improving current processes. That's always something that we're looking for.
For sure. You know, we're advising sort of tech businesses here at WEtech, and it's almost a full-time job just for us to keep up to date with how technology is changing. I can only imagine, you know, it translates really well with folks that are working in the field. How do you go about sort of that employee development path and career growth within the company?
Yeah, so I guess I can say that it's a relatively new focus for us, at least here in Windsor, because we were a small company before this, and small business oriented. We never had a human resources focused department type of thing. So now that we're with Ever.AG, we're trying to really focus on working with HR and our individual team members to create those growth paths for the individuals. It's kind of a newer thing for us, so they're really utilizing HR more so than they would have prior to this relationship with Ever.AG.
That's awesome. We kind of went through something very similar at WEtech in the last few years. We went from 4 employees to 12, and all of a sudden it becomes very important to help your employees sort of focus in on where they want to grow and how they can become more relevant for the work that you're doing. So it's interesting to see. Do you have any sort of highlights you'd like to share in terms of some of the development work that some of the teams are using, or any platforms that they're sort of developing with?
Well, I can talk a little bit at the high level for projects, but then maybe Eros can talk about the tech stacks and whatnot.
Sure. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. So like I mentioned at the start, we have an ERP system that we've been supporting and developing out as well, Windows-based technology. It's called Progress. It's not something that I don't think any of the schools would be teaching, but yeah, so we have that solution. We've commissioned a couple of new projects on the web, and they're in the same vertical of the AgTech solutions. Can't really talk too much about what they're for, but it's a lot about for procurement and processing of various commodities.
Got it.
Yeah,
Awesome.
as Eric said, our tech for our Windows-based ERP application is built on Progress OpenEdge. And again, we don't expect students out of university to know anything about that. It is a high-level enterprise application that I don't think students are familiar with. But the web-based applications, we're using a low-code framework called Servoy that's built on top of Node and Angular and Bootstrap, and those are tech stacks that students are familiar with, and we're seeing that in the applications that we were receiving.
Very cool. So how many interviews, ballpark it for me, have you had in sort of the last 3 months? Because I know you've been hiring pretty aggressively.
Eros?
It's I don't know. It's a lot of them. I've lost track of the number. We've hired a number of positions. I've gone through, I would say, hundreds to maybe over 1,000 resumes, and looking at those applicants. But we've tried to narrow it down, and thankfully we have a good HR department that can narrow it down even more for us before it gets to a technical interview. So I've done a number of them. But we've had good success with people here in Windsor.
Yeah,
That's great.
That stage 1 and stage 2 process really helps narrow it down for us, saves us a lot of time that we wouldn't have otherwise had.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. So, you've got this great experience in sort of interviewing people now. What are some of those things that you would suggest, like, definitely do during your interview, and things that you would suggest, like, definitely don't do during an interview?
Yeah. Well, I guess there's 2 different types of interviews. There's the remote interviews, which we've been doing a lot of in our space. And I guess for those types, I would say, first of all, very simply, just be aware of your background in the room that you're in. So if you're interviewing from your bedroom, maybe try and not display your bed, or if it's displayed, then make it. And do research on the company interviewing you, know who you're talking to. Try not to ramble. Ask a couple of thoughtful questions at the end, send a follow-up email after, thank us for the interview, that type of stuff, for the general interview questions. And if you're going in person, dress for the role that you want, and don't show up, 30 minutes early, but don't show up just on time either, maybe 10, 15 minutes early.
Absolutely. Eros, do you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I gotta say the doing research part and finding something that you don't expect somebody to know just by glazing at the website. I think diving deep into it and asking a specific question about, and we've had that before, where somebody asked a specific question about our tech stack that I didn't think they would know. That really makes somebody stand out.
Very cool. Yeah, there's a great website too, if you're a candidate out there looking, called Built With, that actually WEtech has a discount code for, but you can use it for free as well. And you can actually see sort of what different companies are using as their tech stack, and dive into that as well. And it really helps for those types of questions and interviews where you want to impress them and want to show them that you know a little bit more than just what you've found on the website.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what would you say makes the company Ever.AG so unique?
Well, from a high level, I guess it's a new company. And so when I mentioned earlier, one of the words I would use to describe the culture here is that it's exciting and growth oriented. And there's a lot of balls in the air, a lot of different projects. There's a lot of different ideas getting floated around, and there's a lot of investment in the product, in the solutions and services that we offer. So I think that's one of the most unique things, is the investment in the software in this space. There's not a lot of solutions, like I mentioned before, in this space, and the ones that are there, they're not investing heavily into it primarily. And I feel like Ever.AG's really positioned itself to do that, and it's shown it over the past few months that it's willing to, take the risks and make some big changes for the industry.
Really cool. What is it that Ever.AG sees that's worth investing in this space? Do they see it continuing to grow? Is that sort of where the genesis of this comes from?
Yeah, I think that the agricultural space in general generally lags behind in technology, and whereas the automotive sector or other manufacturing sectors, they might be very tech centric. I think agriculture lags a bit in that sense. Maybe not on the field as much as it does in the office, but I think that's one of the big advantages or big opportunities that they see.
I think that's really important too, right? It's like anytime we're hearing about AgTech now, it is in the field, right? It's robotics and automation, or it's picking robotics as well, or in the space of greenhouses technology as well, vertical growing. But that back office stuff is just as important, because it's really what provides the ability to get food to and from where it needs to go. Where do you see some of those opportunities in that back office space that continues to grow today?
Well, I think it's just in the integration between, the accounting systems that they're using, and in the very industry specific programs for processing of raw materials. So
For
that
sure.
in the uniqueness of those, those raw materials in ag, and then, how it integrates with accounting, I think is a big piece. Because a lot of times, a lot of our clients are coming from a system or a situation where they're doing a lot of double entry. There's a lot of human error that gets brought into it. Calculations aren't done correctly, whatever it may be. But our software and our technology is primed for solving those problems.
Very cool. So I applied to Ever.AG. Not actually, Yvonne would kill me, but let's pretend I've applied to Ever.AG. I start working at your company day one. What are some of the perks? What are some of the things that I can look forward to sort of joining the team?
I think there's a lot of, like we mentioned, there's a lot of flexibility, and it's a very, you're not being micromanaged in the sense that, you have to punch in at 9 o'clock and punch out at 5:30. It's pretty loose in that sense. Get your job done. You work remotely primarily now. Since COVID started, we've been working pretty much 4 days a week at home or wherever. So it's not, it's not very rigid. You have a lot of opportunity to be creative in your development, and I think that's a high level. I don't know if Eros has anything else to add to that.
Yeah, I think we have a good team. I think one of the best things that we have, especially at the Windsor office, is we have a good team, team members that communicate well with each other, and that they just enjoy each other's companies. And I think we've had people that have developed long life friendships, and that's definitely one of the perks of working here.
That's awesome. That definitely is sort of a huge chunk of what drives people to, want to do better and want to grow in their careers, especially in specific sort of locations. It's that team dynamic, right? It really does fuel that. That's awesome. So, maybe a quick follow-up question to that, but why do you both love working at your company?
Well, for me, for that reason, it's the empowerment and the flexibility, the opportunity that lies ahead with the tech space that we mentioned is poised for growth. I just think it's an exciting time to be in the technology space and agriculture in general, and being able to do that from Windsor, where we're from, is really awesome.
And similar, as I said before, the team that I work with is exceptional. I love working with my team members, and also, yeah, the growth of where we're going, where the vision of this company and the future right now, especially in tech, is endless. With AI being introduced, we're seeing a lot more of ChatGPT and different AI tools. I think there's a potential in the future that makes it very exciting.
So cool. So you're not worried about ChatGPT. You only see it as a tool, right, to help you do what you're doing?
It's definitely, in my opinion, it's a tool. Right now, it is a tool. I don't know where the future will take us. I've watched the Terminator movies, but I'm not worried about that right now.
I'm on your page too. I think it's just a great, it's a souped up version of what we already have. It just allows us to do more in less time. It's cool to see how people are using it to sort of unlock different capabilities. Mm-hmm. So let's say I'm not in the tech space at all. And actually, I'm not. My background is in, I got a master's in sociology. My first degree was in social work. I got a specialty in economic development. If I want to get into that tech space, what are your suggestions to start to move into that area? And I want to take advantage of some of these opportunities.
I think if you're looking for a developer position, if you're looking into the tech side of it, we answered some of this before. I think it's just it's problem solving. That's the number one thing. A lot of what we do as developers or even product management is figuring out what the issue is on the client side and how we can best create an application or a software that will fix we can fix those issues. And then, as I mentioned before, just being open to learning and being up to date. Those are really the main things that that somebody going into the tech field, especially in AgTech and Ever.AG, should be looking to learn or improve that skill set so that they can join the tech world.
Very cool. So, I mean, it sounds like, the big takeaway there is that tech keeps evolving, the space keeps evolving, and as an employee in that space, you got to evolve with it, kind of thing, and reinvent yourself along the way.
Mhm.
We're going to open up the Q&A right now and see what our attendees are asking about. And first up here is what kind of impact do you hope Ever.AG's technology will have on the agricultural industry in the coming years?
Sorry, you cut out on me a little bit there,
Oh,
Adam.
that's okay. Yeah, not a problem. What kind of impact do you hope Ever.AG's technology will have on the agricultural industry in the coming years?
I think I hope, I'm very hopeful that we're the industry leaders in the most cutting edge technologies, and that's kind of the big decisions that we're making right now. I hope that they shape I hope we make the right decisions, and I hope that they shape the future of ag tech.
Really cool. I know when I was doing the research, you've got such broad sort of spectrum applications for the work that you're doing and the technology that you're providing. It doesn't seem like there's a part of the agricultural supply chain that you're not going to be touching soon. So it's really exciting.
Yeah.
How
And we
does
like to say,
Oh, sorry, go
we
ahead.
like to say that we have a hand in everything that you eat and drink pretty much. So somehow it went through either our grains or something, fed the cow that you were drinking the milk, or yeah, we have our hand in everything that you eat or drink.
Very cool. So how does Ever.AG approach innovation, right? You're sort of moving across this industry, which is so broad. How do you stay ahead of industry trends?
Well, I would say that hang on a second here. How do we stay ahead of industry trends? Aside from doing our research and staying ahead of just knowing what's coming down the pipeline, seeing what's going on in other industries, I think we're just doing a lot of research and development, putting a lot of investment in research and development, R&D, and just really, knowing what's going on in other kind of verticals that are similar to ag tech in the manufacturing and processing space, trying to incorporate that.
You play in a lot of different countries, right? Are you seeing this type of tech sort of being driven by certain players around the world? Are you seeing Canada start to come up to the plate and compete a little bit more on that stage?
Yeah, I think so. I think Canada's always been there. We have a lot of ag. It's a big agricultural country, and we export quite a bit. So yeah, I think Canada's poised for it. And also, there's some pretty interesting government programs that are helping companies like us to invest in some tools. So we're really grateful for that and able to take advantage of that. So I think Canada's trying at least to help itself in that space.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, when you look at how much agricultural technology, the sort of one of the latest estimates is about 80% of agricultural technology is imported from other sort of jurisdictions. But we've got such an advantage to having sort of homegrown technology here in Canada as well, because you get to interface with that end user so much more quickly, right? You can rapidly implement changes that they're looking for in terms of features and upgrades and stuff like that. So it just makes sense to work with sort of local vendors on that side of things. I know you can't share with us all of the secrets and all of the things that you're going to be working on in the next little bit in terms of projects or initiatives, but you can go into more a little bit of sort of the direction you're taking. What sort of areas of agriculture are you going to be focusing on in the coming years to make an impact in?
Yeah, I think generally speaking, we're in the commodity space, such as specialty crops and so your row crops of corn and soybeans and whatnot, and the specialty crops like lentils and chickpeas, that type of stuff. I think we're going to look to expand across all of that. So you mentioned the greenhouses earlier. It'd be great to get into the cucumbers and the peppers game, the raisins, or really any commodity that can be purchased, processed, and shipped. So I mean, we want to touch it all, not just some.
Of course, yeah. No, that makes sense. And we're seeing that too, right? As people switch to more plant-based diets as well. You're seeing a lot more in that space of need for food. And of course, the population is not getting any smaller. So we need to feed more people, and that means more commodities to sort of manage as well. You sort of mentioned some of the areas. Is there any area of sort of that ag tech scene that really excites you, or areas that you can't wait to get into with the Ever.AG platforms?
Yeah, I think that the ones that I kind of mentioned there. Also,
Sure.
there's a lot of opportunity in it's the specialty crops, I think, that are exciting. Anything that people really like, the exportable crops too, like, bag them, ship them overseas. There's a lot of exports that are happening now, and that's a growing amount as well. So focusing on those.
Of course, yeah, and our area doesn't just have sort of the growers; we also have a lot of processors too.
Yeah.
And I know some of those processors were actually sought out, being Canadian made or sort of from Canada. A lot of countries see that as sort of a stamp of quality assurance as well. So interesting to see how sort of like what's being grown here is sort of making its way all across the globe there. I'm really excited to know, how are you planning on working a little bit more closely with the local Windsor-Essex agricultural presence? Greenhousing, as you said, something that you're looking to get into. Is there ways that you're sort of working with regional agriculture to help strengthen your platform?
Currently, not really. No, there's I mean, like I mentioned, we don't have much in terms of clientele in this area, right? Like directly. So there's nothing really there yet, but I would like to get to that point where we can start having conversations with some of these greenhouses and some other ag players in this space, in this area.
Very cool. How do you ensure that you're attracting and retaining sort of top talent in this highly competitive industry? What does that look like for Ever.AG?
Yeah, I think we're really pushing on our HR department to be able to put our postings everywhere. So LinkedIn, there's a Paycor option, and Indeed, just really pushing it through every channel possible to make sure that they got eyes on everything and that we have eyes on everything.
That definitely makes sense. Yeah, that's a great way to do it, right?
Yeah.
I'm interested, what are some of the early successes that you've seen in terms of hiring on? Do you have any new folks on the team that you're excited to be bringing in?
Yeah, I mean, we have people that we're bringing in as co-op students from the university or the college that have been really helpful, and some that even stick around afterwards. It's a great opportunity for them to get their feet wet in the technology and the company and in the ag space. And it's been it's almost like a tryout in a sense. So once they're done their co-ops, then we have a good idea of what they're capable of, and we've been able to keep some on longer term.
Oh, for sure. That kind of brings up a point too around mentorship. I know that a lot of companies sometimes they're a bit shy to bring on interns or co-op placements, but it seems like you and the team, you really sort of thrive in that environment of bringing people on and helping them learn what it is they don't know in the space. Can you talk a little bit about how mentorship works in your company and how you sort of approach that process?
I can touch on it. We have a mentorship. Ever.AG offers a mentorship program, actually. So they really push,
Cool.
oftentimes for you to just either to register as a mentor, or to look up other people who have, and then, see what their background is. And then, they're open for you to reach out to them. And then you can keep those conversations going, weekly, bi-weekly, just touching base to make sure that, you're having at least a conversation every once in a while, pick their brains and learn from different people in different areas of the company.
Very cool. That's awesome. And I can imagine that alone sort of helps to motivate the learning sort of process, right? You mentioned so how important that is to always be open to discovering sort of new things and keeping your skills up to date. What are some of the other ways that you find your team sort of helps to motivate newer employees, or any employee at that matter?
That's probably the best way in terms of mentorship for me that I can point to. Obviously, right now we're in a stage of heavy development, and so everyone's kind of keeping their heads to the ground and just kind of plugging away at what we're doing. And we motivate the people internally as we can, and just try and stay positive and optimistic and keep a good working environment for everyone.
So we do have a system when we onboard new employees with or new co-ops with a onboarding buddy, and they get to meet weekly with each other or as they need to, and we offer support that way, and then we also offer support through management and mentorship that way, where you can talk directly to your directing manager, you can talk to your onboarding buddy, and if you need help or if you need encouragement or if you need support in anything, we offer it that way.
That's awesome. I know, it's obviously a big team. You've got locations all over the world, but it sounds like it's very open. You're able to connect and communicate, and that's sort of encouraged in everything that you do, which is always refreshing to see.
Yeah, 500 plus employees across the company right now. We're still hiring, so yeah, a lot of growth.
That's awesome. And you're obviously investing in new technology, you're investing in new employees, and you're investing it here in Windsor-Essex, and we're so thankful for that. That sort of wraps up the Q&A that we have here. So we wanted to, thank you so much. And if you do have questions that you didn't feel comfortable asking throughout the session, please encourage follow up and make sure that you connect with our guests on LinkedIn as well. They are available there. Eric, Eros, thank you so much, and to Ever.AG for sharing your insights and advice today. To the students and professionals from across the region that are here in attendance, it was such a pleasure to have the opportunity to sort of talk to you, to learn more about Ever.AG, and we're so excited to see it continue to grow in Windsor and Essex and keep leveraging the workforce that we have here. We really want to have this incredible sort of focus in on this AgTech space, and we see it growing so fast in the region. So we're so excited to have you here.
Mm-hmm. Thanks for your time. I really appreciate you having us on here. It was a good session. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we say goodbye, we've got a couple of important announcements to make. One is that registration is now open for our next Tech Connect program Thursday, which is happening on May 4th at 12 p.m. So Star Wars Day. And that'll be in conversation with Red Piston, a local developer here in Windsor-Essex and a longtime friend of WEtech Alliance. You'll get a follow-up email from us tomorrow with the video link and any resources discussed in today's session. You can also find Ever.AG as well as all of their current jobs and availabilities through LinkedIn. Also, your feedback is really important to us, so please take a quick moment to answer the following poll that Emily posted in the chat box there. And if you have any other feedback, please feel free to share it with us at info@wetech-alliance.com. And to keep you engaged with the regional tech community, we've compiled a list of upcoming Windsor-Essex Tech and beyond, and you can find that on the website at www.wetech-alliance.com. This concludes our Tech Connect Thursday. Thank you so much for attending. We hope you've learned a little bit today. Enjoyed today's session, and a big thank you for Emily Roback for being on the back end here and helping us out. The next time you're in the grocery store, take a look at the food that you're about to consume. It may have been touched by something that Ever.AG has created, and we're so excited to see more of that in our local area. Thanks again, gents, and have a great weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Take care.